we're going to turn to a congressional hearing where Useful Idiot's co-founder Matt Taibbi appeared to discuss the reporting he's done on government censorship. Now, this hearing saw the return of a figure that is well known to the Useful Idiot's audience, someone who has given us a lot of entertainment, and that is Nina Jankowicz, the former short-lived disinformation czar under Joe Biden. Went viral when she recorded a Mary Poppins-themed diss of Republicans for spreading what she called Russian disinformation, even though it was actually true. It was things like Hunter Biden's laptop. But at the start of the hearing, once again, for the second time, this happened last time Matt Taibbi testified as well, he was smeared by the ranking Democrat. This is Democrat Sidney Kamlanger-Dove outright lying about Matt Taibbi. This is what she said.
Majority is relitigating a made-up conspiracy theory about a part of the State Department that no longer exists to distract from the dumpster fire foreign policy this administration is pursuing and elevating a serial sexual harasser as their star witness in the process. Mr. Chair, I request unanimous consent to enter into the record 2 articles about the Republican witness Matt Taibbi. The first is a Chicago Reader article entitled 20 Years Ago in Moscow, Matt Taibbi was a misogynist a-hole and possibly worse, and a Washington Post article titled The 2 Expat Bros Who Terrorized Women Correspondents in Moscow.
So she's outright lying about our friend Matt Taibbi. The allegations against him over sexual misconduct were a complete fabrication. They're based on satirical articles that he wrote like 2 decades ago with his former colleague that were basically a satire of the U.S. attitude toward Russia at the time, when basically Russia in the 1990s was being pillaged by U.S. financiers and being privatized in line with U.S. dictates. Matt Taibbi and Mark Ames wrote satirical articles about the attitudes of Americans inside Russia, but they were entirely satirical, and they included some crude fiction about the way Americans treat Russian women, and it's based on that this lie about Matt is now being lodged. But it's been disproved so many times, but yet it's still being made. And this is not the first time this has happened. The last time Matt Taibbi testified, the ranking Democrat called him a so-called journalist. Right. And this is after so much reporting that was accurate, contrary to what they say about, yes, actual government censorship. And amazingly, as their star witness, the Democrats called in Nina Jankowicz to defend government censorship, which of course she denied is even taking place. And watch what happens when she was questioned about the suppression of reporting on the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Do you believe that the 51 former intelligence officials who said that the Hunter Biden's laptop were a product of Russian disinformation, do you think they impacted the trust of the American people and the intelligence establishment to successfully use social media to go after terrorists?
Sir, does free speech only apply when you like what's being said? Those guys were exercising their right to free speech, and actually what they said was that it bore the hallmarks of a disinformation campaign, which based on the evidence at the time was true.
Okay, so first of all, she's saying that it's free speech for a bunch of former intelligence officials to claim that the Hunter Biden laptop comes from Russia. It's free speech. Okay, is it free speech, though, to censor reporting on the Hunter Biden laptop based on the lie that it came from Russia? No, that's not free speech. That's censorship. And she's now saying, like they have the right to free speech. Yeah, they do have the right to free speech. But the point is, if you believe in free speech, you don't have the right to suppress reporting on factual information. And that's what she's still defending. And then she says, based on the evidence at the time, it was plausible that it came from Russia. What is she talking about? There was no evidence. The whole point is it was a scam. It was a lie. And amazingly, so many years later, Nina Jankowicz typically is still defending it. But speaking of censorship, I want to give Matt Taibbi a shout out because at the hearing, he was asked for a concrete example of the government, taking part in the suppression of speech. And one of the examples he gave involves yours truly.
The other one was an instance in which a friend of mine, Aaron Mate, who is no Republican, the Ukrainian Secret Services passed on a request to the FBI to have him removed from Twitter, and the FBI did it. They passed that request on to Twitter, and we found that ask in Twitter's files.
Wow.
That's right. That's right. That did happen. The Ukrainian intelligence service asked the FBI to pass on to Twitter a bunch of accounts they wanted censored, and my account was among them. And the FBI did pass that on. And, thankfully, Twitter didn't comply with that. But that is a concrete example of the FBI pursuing censorship, asking Twitter to censor social media accounts. And Thank you, Matt, for bringing that up. And I'm sorry he had to endure another act of defamation, outright defamation, in Congress, too, of all places. It's unfortunate. But that's what happens, again, when you do factual reporting that can't be refuted. They try to attack your character, including by outright lying. And that's what happened here.
Well, it's unfortunate that that member of Congress didn't introduce another article into public record, because she could have gone with a very informative and actually researched piece at Pace Magazine by Walker Bragman called The Destruction of Matt Taibbi, in which Bragman actually talks to the women who worked with Matt Taibbi, and they all debunk the claims made against him that he's some sort of sexual harasser. That could be entered in as well.
Yeah, that wasn't convenient to their narrative, and it's so unfortunate. Look, as we covered on the Thursday Throwdown, Nina Jankowicz actually made one valid point where she said that, first of all, she called the censorship that happened under Biden, she said it was fictional. That's not true. It happened. But she did say that whatever you think about what happened there, it doesn't compare to what the Trump administration is doing now in cracking down on free speech. And as we talked about on Thursday Throwdown, Nina Jankowicz is right about that the Trump administration, which campaigned against censorship, is cracking down on free speech. They're having people deported for calling for an end to the genocide in Gaza. And she's right to point out the hypocrisy there. They're not right, though, to claim that censorship didn't happen under Biden. And of course, they're not right to smear people who reported accurately on it, including Matt Taibbi.
Donald Trump has nominated John Daniel Kaine, whose nickname is Raisin Kaine, to be Joint Chiefs chairman. And let's take a look at an interesting exchange between Kaine during his confirmation hearing and Senator Jack Reed. You're going to hear some very interesting gems and nuggets come out. I don't even want to set it up because I want you to be surprised. Let's take a listen.
Following the announcement of your nomination, press stories started to circulate about comments President Trump made about you and your past relationship. And according to the reports, the president tells a story where he spoke to you while you were serving in Iraq on active duty, and you said that you loved him, and I'll kill for you, sir. The president then said that you followed up these comments by putting on a Make America Great Again hat. General Kaine, is any of this story true?
Senator, as I mentioned to the chairman, for 34 years, I've upheld my oath of office and the responsibilities of my commission. I think I went back and listened to those tapes, and I think the president was actually talking about somebody else, and I've never worn any political merchandise or said anything to that effect.
Trump is not the most reliable narrator, so maybe he wasn't talking about him. Maybe the whole thing wasn't true, but it's kind of an amazing moment to watch someone have to answer that question.
No, sir, I did not put on the MAGA hat and claim I would die for the president.
And kill, yeah.
And kill. By the way, Raisin Kaine is replacing CQ Brown, who Trump recently fired as the chair of the Joint Chiefs. And what I've heard from people I know in Washington is that CQ Brown was doing some important stuff behind the scenes. He was basically helping to do all he could to prevent a war with Iran, among other things, and was talking to foreign countries in quiet ways in a bid to manage all the risks of all the various global conflicts that the U.S. has going. And Trump decided to fire him and I think replace him with somebody more loyal. And I don't think that's a very good thing. And there hasn't been very much focus on this, but we'll see what Raisin Kaine comes up with if he's confirmed. But when CQ Brown was fired, I did not have a very good feeling, especially now as there's increasing more talk about Trump bombing Iran. Trump is threatening Iran. I really hope that Trump didn't fire CQ Brown because CQ Brown was standing in the way of a war with Iran. I really hope that's not the case. It's just a scary time. And, during the same confirmation hearing, there was an exchange where Tom Cotton asked Raisin Kaine that if Trump plans to bomb Iran, would you give him sound advice? And Raisin Kaine said, yeah, that's my job. But Tom Cotton felt compelled to make sure that CQ Brown's replacement would be on board with bombing Iran. And that doesn't inspire very much confidence.
Yeah.